Well, good morning, Doug.
Morning. How you doing?
So good. It's really good to get together. I know our schedules have been a little crazy lately,
Yeah.
and
Well, I appreciate your flexibility on this.
likewise,
Yeah.
likewise.
Yeah.
And Doug, we do these podcasts on a regular basis to help people grow their business. And in this case, Doug Zielasko, the CEO of our Chamber of Commerce here in the city of Mission Viejo. What we want to discuss today is get to know why people should take an interest in their local Chamber of Commerce, the benefits it can offer, and how you got started in it. So I thought we would get to know you a little bit better.
Okay, good.
Great. Well, maybe you can tell us, Doug, how you got started with the Chamber of Commerce and maybe a little bit about your background.
Yeah, background-wise, it could take a long time because I'm
How much we got? Okay, go ahead.
not really. I'm from Ohio, originally from Ohio, and I went to school. I did undergrad work in Ohio. I did my graduate work in Ohio, and spent probably my first 30 years of my lifetime there, very devoted to the wonderful city of Canton, Ohio, which is where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is located. And at some point made a decision I needed to move to Florida and get out of the cold weather. It was always cloudy and cold and miserable for, 6 months out of the year. It was like that. So made the decision to move south, spent some time in Florida. But after I got out of college, my initial thrust in the employment world was teaching and coaching. I had a real passion for coaching basketball. I played basketball, started playing in the 4th grade and all the way up through college.
Wow.
And so I it was hard to break away from that.
I'm sure.
Teaching was a passion. I loved that too. Kids, particularly the high school kids. I taught American government. So that lasted for like 9 years. And somebody came along, a friend of a friend, came along and recruited me for a pharmaceutical sales job. Something brand new. I did it, and I couldn't have made a better decision because I think I'd kind of tapped out on the coaching and the teaching a little bit, even though I had a very, very successful run at it. I made the decision to go into pharmaceutical sales. And for people that don't know what pharmaceutical sales consists of primarily, it's just detailing physicians day after day after day. And now there's a real challenge to learn the product and what's involved scientifically with the product and chemically with the product. But as far as understanding the repetition of it, it kind of started to wear on me.
Sure.
And fortunately, I had performed well enough that I was offered an opportunity to get into hospital disposable products. Now that was real interesting because that hit every department of the hospital. So I spent a lot of time in OR, a lot of time with anesthesiologists and surgeons, nutritionists, you name it, the full gamut. So I enjoyed that. And that's kind of how I ended my career. I stuck with all that for a lot of years and made a decision that it was time to move on and retire from it because I was thinking, okay, I can play some golf, I can enjoy myself, I earned it,
Sure.
That sort of thing. But what I didn't plan on was that I'm not a very good golfer. And I got frustrated with it. I kept trying to get better at it because I had friends that played, and I stunk. So at some point, I kind of lost my verb to be successful there on the golf course. But during that time, I volunteered myself at Agewell Senior Services.
Yes.
We had moved to California from Florida, and I was, involved with sales and sales management at that time. And I got lured into volunteering at Agewell, and so I was there for 8 years.
Wow.
And I sat on their board that period of time, and it was 2 years as a board president. Very, very rewarding, very enjoyable.
Sure.
Had a great time, but it was time to let somebody else sit. 8 years was quite a while, devoting a lot of
Yeah,
time. I was on
sure.
the nutrition committee, in charge of the nutrition committee, so we were doing whatever we could to enhance nutrition for seniors, which was very rewarding. So that's how that played out. And during that time, I'm still in the retirement mode, if you will. So
Supposed to be playing golf.
on a golf game, trying to figure it out. And one of my very dear friends approached me and said, "I know you're bored. You know, you want to get involved with helping me." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "It's life insurance, you know, for New York Life."
Yeah.
So that's how I got involved with New York Life, and that's how I entered the fray with the Chamber of Commerce. I got very involved there, and I was just like everybody else that was aspiring to get more business through the Chamber. That's what I jumped on.
I think that's when I met you first at the Chamber. You were either just getting ready to retire, or you did, or you were still part. But that's where I met you.
Yeah. It was a good experience to do the retirement thing. But I knew I told myself after so long not being productive, I knew I couldn't do it much longer. So I got involved with New York Life. I was there about 3-4 years, and jumped onto the board, and actually got involved with the decision making to hire an executive for the Chamber of Commerce. Truth be told, there was a lot of naysayers out there that were saying that this was a club. It was not. We're not taking things seriously enough. You know, the people that were managing it were very proud of it, and they'd done a nice job, primarily with networking. But there was so much more, so many more dimensions to a chamber that you needed to get involved in, and that's what I ended up accepting that responsibility. And I've been there ever since. So I'm just completing 8 years.
Wow, it's been 8 already.
8 years.
And I remember I was just coming in to the Chamber at that period of time.
Yeah.
And I remember you and I talking a little bit about your role, and then something brand new. And I do remember conversations where it was a club. People would go there, we'd socialize and have fun, this and that. Yeah, there was some networking. Was there some passing of business? There was. But I think we were missing so many opportunities for growth and for expansion for others to really enjoy and grow their businesses. And so your role coming in as the CEO, I got to say, as a fellow board member, it's game changer. It literally changed the landscape of the Chamber of Commerce, and the benefit add just went through the ceiling.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm very, very proud of those 8 years. They've gone fast. They didn't come without strife. Occasionally, we still had people that were still baked in the old way of doing things, and that was a challenging aspect, as you well know. But anyhow, that's where it was. And so my start date was January 1, 2017.
Wow. So
here we are. It's almost 25.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's well, so much progress, and it really leads to the conversation. I'm a business owner, or I work for a business, and let's say I'm a key man or a key person. Why should somebody join their local Chamber of Commerce? What's all the hoopla about?
Yeah. Well, number one, it's awareness. People need to know who you are and what you're doing. And so often people come in. There are many people that join that are very experienced, and they know how to take the baton and run with it, and can be successful. But there's an awful lot of people that are how would you say, scoping out the Chamber of Commerce and making a determination as to whether or not they should be members. And the thing that we try to convey to people is you want to make sure that you are considered a player in your industry. And the only way you can do that is by having an integrated conversation with people. So the whole networking concept is critical. It's absolutely critical. But if you do it, you can be very successful. but you have to be diligent. You have to be very committed to making sure that you are out there budgeting your time. Everybody has a so-called marketing budget that they work off of, and that's one of the departments that gets lopped off.
It does.
Especially you find out after people have joined that they're disenfranchised because they haven't gotten involved themselves.
Right.
So that's what I would encourage. But there's a lot to offer that the chamber has. So many platforms, social media platforms. I'm a believer that people buy from people.
100%.
So you got to get together with people if you know, and you need to understand what drives them and what you portray to them. It's so critical. You've got government reach. We talk a little bit about that. When you have access to legislative information at the board meetings, or if you want to pick up the phone and call Dave Benson or me, particularly Benson, who stays very, very close to all this stuff, and
that's
he can
dear
kind
to
of
his heart.
the job killers, as they're known.
Yeah.
So that legislative piece is important for people to access as a member. That's why it's valuable to join. But the number one thing I feel is all about visibility. So many people have these businesses. A lot of them are home type businesses and what have you, and they're not getting exposure. But they're not taking the steps necessary to get the exposure. They look at it like, okay, marketing is a good example. Marketing's expensive.
It is.
But we do a great job of marketing.
Sure do.
And they don't use us, you know? So that's one of the things that we try to convince when we're getting somebody to join, get the idea that it makes sense for you to join because of the marketing, because of the whole recruitment process and what have you.
Yeah.
So,
you mentioned visibility. The other and budgets. I think of the word feasibility as well. Is what's it cost approximately if someone wanted to join? Let's say our chamber, the Mission Viejo Chamber of Commerce, and then we can maybe talk about some of the specific benefits of joining the Mission Viejo Chamber of Commerce. But as far as a budget goes, marketing. Some people say, like you said, oh, times are getting tough. I got to slice this and slice that.
right.
But how much does it cost to join, let's say, our Chamber of Commerce?
The average cost is $250 for a year.
That's like 20-ish a month.
I know. It's very, very inexpensive.
We spend that at Starbucks.
That's true.
In 2 days or one.
Yes. Yeah, it's very, very affordable. And that's another piece that I think is important that people to understand, because they're out there looking at potential networking opportunities, and we are probably the least expensive option for people. It's very costly to advertise, and you find out it starts with some of the other networking. I don't want to bash any networking organizations, but they're expensive. Yeah. The cost per month is expensive.
It is.
And they tout exclusivity, but that doesn't always work out the way it's supposed to work out.
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity for anybody looking at our Chamber of Commerce to say, wow, this is a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
so
need to
cost
take advantage. And
effective.
if it doesn't work, I'm out $250 for crying out loud.
Yeah.
But I've tried.
Right.
Tried.
And I think so the budget, $250, very, very reasonable. Now the benefits, what are, you mentioned marketing, the chamber can do that, but what are some of the specific benefits of joining the Mission Viejo Chamber of Commerce?
Okay, well, let me take a look, because I wrote some of these down.
Sure.
That I thought would be helpful.
Great.
We've talked a little bit about networking and visibility. That's very critical. So anything, any way that we create a platform for the members is to enhance their opportunity to network.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about specifically, you got Daybreakers, which is a flagship for us. We get people there weekly, anywhere from 25 to 35 business owners a week in there. So that's a great opportunity for people to come to the party, so to speak, and find out what it's all about. What's very interesting to me is when I go to Daybreakers, I observe the enlightenment that people have there. They really enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
The people that have come in and kind of the committee that's controlled Daybreakers effectively for the last 8 years.
8 years, yeah.
They have all done a really, really nice job of trying to keep it vitalized and what have you. So that's very, very key, that whole networking thing. But all of the events that we do, there's what I refer to as the multi-mega events. We have the crossover between all the other chambers, and we're about to approach our 5th one for the year.
It's amazing.
Coming up next, I think it's 2 weeks
2
from
weeks,
now.
yeah.
So those are incredible for everybody to take advantage of. And then you have some of these flagship events that we have, like the State of the City for breakfast.
That's a great one.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for people to join. When you go to that breakfast, okay, so it's $55, but you get there and you've got all these people that are representing the city, representing a lot of the other sponsorship organizations out there that you can hobnob with and get to know and see if there's an opportunity there. You never know. Somebody that's on the board at Santa Margarita Water District might have a son or a daughter that's working for some other company, and you can have a one-on-one with that person. So there's all kinds of platforms that we create that I think are very, very critical. One thing I always like to mention to people is ribbon cuttings.
Oh, powerful.
They're so available to take advantage of. I used to, when I was in the chamber as a member with New York Life, I was going to these ribbon cuttings, and I had an open door to the owner.
Yep.
So,
decision maker.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I try to encourage that. So we create as many platforms as we can so people can take advantage of it.
Yeah. And you mentioned ribbon cuttings. For a business to really kick off or have a good kickstart to their business, that ribbon cutting is so invaluable. We have a whole committee that's dedicated to ribbon cuttings, and city, county, state, federal representatives are all there to welcome you as a business owner. But something I like too, Doug, that you mentioned is that other invitees come not only from the business owner, but from within the chamber who are the business owners, because they realize they're going to meet with other decision makers.
Right.
So if we're missing out on ribbon cuttings, that's a huge miss right there.
Yeah.
It's very valuable. And just a quick note on Daybreakers, Doug. Daybreakers, it's kind of our front door, if you will, to the introduction to the chamber, where you get an opportunity to stand up. Even if you're a little shy, we have people that can help with your shyness and help you overcome that. But you get to stand up for 30 seconds and pitch your business every single week.
Yeah.
And it goes back to your visibility point.
Yeah.
And your consistency. If you stay consistent with that, people get to know who you are, what you do. And by rehearsing that in your mind, you're ready to kind of pull that cord and tell anybody that you meet out on the street, this is what I do.
That's right.
This is who I am.
That's right.
Come practice it there. And then if you're there a certain amount of times, you're able to stand up and speak for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So Daybreakers, if we're not taking advantage of that, that's another big miss too.
Yeah.
So Daybreakers and ribbon cuttings, the events. We just had another event just a few weeks ago, a signature event dealing with our women in business.
Oh yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, this was year 3 for Women in Business. We the first year 90 people attended. The next year 120, and this year 144. So it's on the move, and it's understandable, and it is absolutely incredible to meet these candidates, people that you would never dream of come along.
Yeah.
And some of them are members, some are not members, which gives us an opportunity to try to get them to become members and be involved, and that's been successful as well. So we've been able to recruit people in after they get their award, but they're very deserving of the work that they do, and they get a lot of notoriety for it, and it's fun to watch. It's really fun to watch, and it's now gotten to a point where I have pushed almost everything over to the ladies to handle.
Yeah.
First year,
Yeah, we were a little hands-on.
Well, we were learning.
Yeah.
We were learning, and but year 2 and year 3, it's a little bit more and a little bit more, and I can see it in their actions and in their minds, so to speak, reading how much they fully enjoy being involved in it and feeling like they're producing something.
Yes.
And it gets a lot of attention.
Sure
It's
does.
a lot of attention.
A side note to that, one of the participants, Angela Kung,
Yes.
was there.
Yes.
Short little side story to that. My wife is a professional hair and makeup artist.
Okay.
And Angela Kung also participates in beauty pageants.
Uh-huh.
And she's representing Miss Taiwan.
Right.
Miss Taiwan. And my wife, actually, we were there this last week, last Saturday, for the competition at the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center.
Okay.
Angela was there. She was a heavy favorite going into it. And my wife was doing the hair and makeup for Mrs. Vietnam.
Uh-huh.
And she was also a heavy favorite. So what does it come down to? It comes down to Angela and Mrs. Vietnam right there holding hands on the stage to see who's going to, like boxing ring, who's going to get the arm up. And Angela won.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was quick to remind everybody, this is part of our Chamber of Commerce down here. So kind of a fun
That's
fact.
good to know. She told me when I came in to interview her to do the diligence on her background and what have you, we spent about an hour together, and she was excited about it. She said, I'm really preparing for this. I'm hoping that I can pull it off, and all this sort of thing. I said, well, good luck. But I'm glad you told me that, because I haven't seen anything on it yet.
Yeah, it should be coming out.
I'm sure she'll put it out, on her own. But I'll make a note to give her a call. And
she had her crown and everything. And so that was a fun part. What are some other unique benefits? Are we missing anything with regards to the chamber? The budget's great, $250 a year starter. I'd like to talk maybe a little bit about social media. I was involved with that as well when I worked on the marketing and communications committee. Right. And right now, Katerina just does an amazing job of taking content that's produced within the chamber, whether it's an event, it's a business owner, it's a podcast like this to showcase our business owners, and just pumping it out to our communities on social media. Right. That's huge exposure.
It is.
It's, and then also we have our chamber website.
Yeah.
That chamber website is just
it is amazing.
So dynamic. And
it definitely is.
I think the main thing with the chamber website that I see is it's so user friendly.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, what are your
and there's so many options to it that it's hard to stay with it. I mean, it's hard to stay in front of it and understand all the capacities that it offers to people. Because when you sit down and talk to somebody and you say, are you aware that based on your membership fee, you're entitled to, an email blast? You're entitled to 3, as a matter of fact. I'm entitled to 3 email blasts? You got to be kidding me. So there is definitely a superb advantage there. And to Katerina's point, she has evolved so well. I'm so proud of her. She has done so much, and she's always a lending hand, a helping hand. There's a classic example of coming in to an organization with a huge language barrier and busting through that and taking advantage of all the opportunities that she has and watching that business grow. And it's been pretty successful, as I understand it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's one of our board members as well.
Yes,
just an amazing contributor. And it kind of goes into another question, too, is, here's all the benefits, but what's the best way to get involved? You pay your membership fee, now you're a member. We've got all these opportunities, but from your experience, what's the best way for somebody to get involved in the Chamber of Commerce?
Well, I use one word all the time: engage. That's the key. That's the operative word. You've got to, check out the options, understand what the options are. If you don't know, if you go to the website and you're trying to, which direction do I go, you find somebody like John Rodriguez, or you find somebody that is involved with the chamber enough to be able to provide that information. They can call me if they want to. I've interfaced with a lot of different clientele, primarily with our larger businesses, to make sure that they're getting their bang for their buck. But it's always there. It's always there for people to take advantage of.
I think of another word, volunteerism.
Oh, yeah.
Volunteerism. When I first came into the chamber, I remember Dave Leckness and the B-Man, Jerry, were a couple of the first two that were welcoming me right there. And I thought, man, this is going to be a fun club. But one of the things that they both told me, oh, it's time to get involved, right? And they started taking me around, to your point, to different people who knew about the chamber, knew how to get involved. And they said, oh, you need to volunteer. And I'm like, volunteer? I have a job. I don't have time. But the volunteerism was what really, really helped my visibility in the chamber. Can you speak to the volunteerism from your perspective?
When I think back several years ago, I had a mentor in the corporate world who said to me, you're producing phenomenal numbers and you're doing a great job. You need to look around your community and see if you can't get involved somewhere, somehow. Not only from the standpoint of being a giver and not a taker. People will perceive you as a taker if you're not giving. And that's huge. So that perception that you create with people, that you are willing to give of your time. So think about that as our own experience. You've got a guy like John Rodriguez.
I know him.
You know that guy.
I met that guy once.
Yeah. I mean, so much time and energy he poured into what it's all about. We know that you did that, and we appreciate that, and you still have a reputation for that. So it's everlasting if you do it, and it's not that hard, but you got to budget the time for it, and you got to look at it like it's a marketing tool for yourself too.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's not that you're being selfish about it. You're saying, look, if I help out over here, then maybe I can get something over here. So it's an opportunity that's really, really critical. And I'm trying to think if there is anything else, another example of somebody. David Benson, John
Salome,
Joan
Bornstein.
I mean, my goodness, there's a whole crew of them that just continue to be involved. And what happens, they get perceived as givers. And so the end of that equation means potential business, because they can be trusted, they can be representative of the community, they see all that, they're ethical, they get to know these people so well that it's a piece of cake to do business with them.
And within our Mission Viejo Chamber of Commerce, I believe we have 6 or 7 committees, including our young people, young professionals group, which is really, really dear to our hearts as well. But there's so many different committees to get involved with. And sometimes what happens is I think as a new chamber member comes in, and if they're not made aware of these things, which hopefully, I know in membership, we try to, when we make phone calls, we try to let them know, hey, here's how you, but even with our ambassador group, because each person is assigned an ambassador or like a liaison from the board to the member. We have somebody that's assigned to guide them during that first year. To let them know, here's the different committees you can volunteer with. Or perhaps it's one of our signature events that, I really want to help the women in business. I'm a female-owned business. I would love to do that. Whatever it is, to look for ways to get involved with one of those committees. It helps take the load off of the board itself, who is already doing a lot and on multiple committees generally. But what a what a powerful way
Yeah.
to get your visibility out there, to serve your community and your fellow chamber members.
Yeah.
The other thing too is that when you join a committee, your name goes on our website underneath that committee. And so now you're with a link to your website. So now you're getting even more exposure.
That's right.
So it's a win-win, you know, to
It is.
volunteer.
Yeah, we probably, because you're explaining this so much in detail, it occurs to me that we need to be doing more recruiting of volunteers.
Yeah.
You know, because there's just not an awareness
Yeah.
of what they could be. You know, what are some of the side benefits they would, you know, gain as a result of volunteering? I think that's critical. But you know, some people are just givers. And you don't need to explain anything to them. They just know they want to do it. They want to be people that can help in any way that possible. And they're also very talented people, and they really add a lot. I think about some of the people that we have utilized over the years that have been so kind with their time that it does make a big difference. And it does create, as you point out, it creates that credibility for everybody.
Yeah,
So.
I could think of one other example. Danny Katzman, young chamber member, also works at New York Life.
Yes.
I was assigned as his ambassador, and so we had a meeting right after Daybreakers a couple years back, and we sat down, and I started telling him about the chamber, give him some background, some historical stuff, and here's what the committees are like.
Sure.
And he goes, well, which one do you want me on? I mean, it was just, wow. You could just see the volunteerism just oozing out of him. I says, well, we need help in ambassadors. All right, what do I sign? He was ready to go.
Yeah.
And now he's so instrumental in at our events with our opportunity drawings and just so many things, our young professionals too.
Right.
So it's examples like that. And you know, we need more youthfulness into the chamber as well, because I know when I first joined, I kind of thought it was like the Elks Club a little bit, maybe, or Rotary. Like, you know, this is an older venue.
Yeah, the demographic.
Should I be here?
Yeah.
And now we're seeing more younger people, business owners or parts of businesses, seeing the value of being a part of the chamber.
Yeah, it's a challenge on the young professional side because a lot of them haven't been established yet.
Yeah.
They haven't gotten their teeth sunk into something that they can call their own, if you will. Whereas a lot of the older guys and gals have been there, done that, and they're seeking to gain traction in some endeavor, some real situation that enables them to maybe semi-retire or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of how I got started with it. I mean, I was retired. I was playing golf, that wonderful game of golf. I was playing it and going out there and hacking the ball around every day. I said, I got to end my frustration somehow. I got to start helping others. So I gave more time.
It's time to switch over to pickleball, Doug.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's the newest, shiniest toy out there, the fastest
Pickleball's
growing.
fun. Pickleball's
We
fun.
try to play it a couple times a week, and it is a good time. Well, you know, Doug, it's been great getting to know you as a person, what led you into the chamber, and as a fellow board member and representing our board of directors. We cannot thank you enough for your role as the CEO, what you do day in, day out, much of it behind the scenes. People don't even realize and understand all the work that you're doing to keep this chamber moving in the right direction. So we appreciate your hard work. And one final question for you.
Sure.
What advice? I'm a small business owner, or I'm part of a larger business that has asked me to represent them as a member of the chamber. What advice would you have for us to be successful? Maybe we are successful, but to stay successful, or if we're not so successful, to be successful as we move on to 2025?
Well, we've talked a lot about engagement with our chamber. Chamber of Commerce is a real helpful tool it may not bring a ton of business to you initially, but it gets you out into the community and get you to know everybody, okay, that are members. So that's very, very critical. But what I would say is, in preparation for 25, is make sure you have a business plan. Put a business plan together, because then when you take the next step and you're spending time with people and talking to them, they're going to want to know what you're all about.
Yeah.
They're going to want to know you individually first.
Yeah.
And if they've already gotten to that point, they're comfortable with you, then the next step is, okay, what kind of meat's on the bone? What are you doing here? So you got to be viable, okay? And it's a very competitive world out there, so you got to be prepared when you're sitting down and identifying the direction that you want your company to take. That has to be aligned closely with the people that you're talking to, or otherwise they won't buy from you.
That's right.
Okay. I have a real strong bias here. I feel very strongly that people buy from people.
Yeah.
I've mentioned that
Yeah.
already a couple times, and I just think it's kind of it's missing its target to present day. There's just so much social media stuff.
So much of this.
Oh my gosh! And it's just like, oh my God, I get all these emails and
Pick up the phone.
Yes.
Make an appointment. Go
Yes.
meet in person.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But
I'm with you on that.
that's where I think it's critical that people understand that to get a balance there to be more successful, especially if they're struggling in 25. But stay on course with that business plan and don't panic, because it takes a while to get a business rolling. And even though you have a passion for it, you may be missing a mark along the line where it's not designed appropriately. You're going to find out by talking with people, by meeting with people, how often, what else could be done to change your business plan to make you more successful. That's all you learn from people. Yeah. So there's a lot of interaction. You know, the volunteering aspect is very, very critical. We talked about that. I think that's the one thing that people need to be aware of, is just make sure that they've got their how would you say, their course of action in play, so that when they do sit down and talk to people, if they get to that point, people can see, oh man, these guy's got his act together. You know, his business is really viable, and I know he's selling insurance, or he's selling a mortgage. Yeah. And I want to make sure that I check into what he's doing, because I'm impressed with what he's doing right now as far as his business plan. Yeah. So I don't know how many people actually take that serious, that business plan piece. Yeah.
I think they skip over it sometimes. They just go straight into the business and forget about doing the plan first. Where am I going? Yeah. What am I trying to accomplish? What are my goals?
Right.
And then they just launch, and they maybe struggle, learn as they go, but they could avoid some problematic issues that could come up by just talking to somebody experienced first. Yeah. Here's what I experienced. Let me help you avoid that.
Right.
Let's go straight to the plan. Stick to the plan. Don't give up. Yeah. And Doug, there's one piece of advice that I learned that really helps me too, is wake up each morning with being very intentional. Know your why. Kind of goes back to your business plan, but it's even more expansive than that. It's know your why. My why is sleeping right next to me. That's my wife. She's my why. And outside of that, outside of taking care of her, then my immediate family. My parents, her parents, all of that. Are they all set? Is everybody good? Outside of that, my energy is turned to my business and helping, our business be successful, and caring for our community. It's just knowing what your purpose is, why you're doing what you're doing every single day. Yeah. Don't give up.
Right.
Keep going.
That's right.
Pandemic, keep going. We go on Zoom, whatever, but we got to get off Zoom.
That's it.
Like you said, get out to the people.
Right. Spend the time with people, interact with them, understand who they are, what they do.
Well, Doug, it's been great. Certainly appreciate your time and your energy that you bring to the chamber and to this podcast. And I know it'll be beneficial for those that will listen in. It'll be posted on our website as well. So we're super excited to to do that. And I just can't thank you enough for being with us this morning.
Appreciate that. Thanks so much for the invitation.
Absolutely.
Glad to spend that time.